Welcome to another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast.
Yeah, it's hard to escape humanity, and that's again, it goes back to the issue of principle. Principle has been around since those early days we talked about of wheel and campfire, because principles transcend. I had a little debate with somebody in my coaching group who's an atheist.
Okay.
And because they kind of went out and started attacking just certain. I was asking about, what can you do to change the world? And he was saying, well, how do I tell billions of people they're believing in some superstition? And I said, well, reel it back.
So he went on the attack.
He went on the attack. So I said, reel it back in, Hot Rod. Hold on a second. Let's break this down, And so I was trying to get him to understand, which is very difficult for people to understand, which is presuppositions. In other words, what are the things that you assume but don't prove? Mm-hmm. Because people always say, well, prove to me God exists, as if I have to prove to you there are dishes in my cabinet. Right. If I make a claim dishes are in the cabinet, you can go look at the cabinet and see dishes there. Well, you don't do that for everything, So you just basically said, dude, what are you going to use to judge whatever evidence I give you? Mm-hmm. Well, you're going to use reason. You're going to use logic. You're going to use, all of these laws of thought. Are we to assume these things exist? Or is this just stuff that happens in your mind? Are moral laws just things that conventions we agree upon? But we convince the world through a massive propaganda campaign where every living being is completely convinced that the Holocaust was a good thing. Would that make it good? Every thinking brain believes it. If every thinking brain could believe the raping of small children was good, would that make it good, or would it still be evil? So he's in a dilemma. He's got to say, well, okay, if I say everything would still be evil, then I'm referring to something that exceeds my brain matter, and somehow it exists. Not spiritual necessarily, but it is transcendent of matter. These are presuppositions, because you are going to use these laws of reason and logic, but I'm not going to allow you to do that, because to assume there are laws of reason and logic that are universal in nature, never change, happen in every thinking brain, yet don't exist in those brains, that's a creation worldview. You got to stick to your atheist worldview, man. You got to stick to the whole Big Bang shit came out of nowhere thing, because you don't have morality and all that. You just got a bunch of colliding molecules.
Sure.
There's no,
rhyme or reason.
Yeah, law of the jungle, man. I mean, there's some crazy shit happening right now outside my window, outside your window, in the world of nature. Mm-hmm. Animals are stealing, raping,
right,
eating each other alive,
eating their own young sometimes.
Yeah, I haven't seen a single detective go out and investigate any of that. And we're just law of the jungle, bro. Then why are we holding ourselves to this higher standard? Mm-hmm. All right. So whether you believe in a particular thing or not, you may not love fundamentalism. I get it, bro. I'm not crazy about it either. But don't misinterpret, the beauty of what's behind the orderly world in which we have. That's why we have these principles. That's why we have things like laws of flight and laws of electricity and laws of mathematics and music and creativity and all of these things, and love, man. How good it is. Now, I was talking to my son last night, and because I've worked this entrepreneur thing for so long, I don't know what it's like anymore to just sit on. I'm not a TV watcher, but I don't sit on the couch and watch a game or whatever. I used to do that, just like everybody else, but I don't do that anymore. So to me, life is bed and desk. Okay. That's the two locations you'll usually find me at, and so, my kids are grown, but they're all here. We're getting the house ready to sell and all that, and then everybody's going to go their way. So I was just telling him how, I can't go back there. I can't go back there. I said, to me, home is now a woman, because she's the only one that can break that spell and get me to sit down and eat a potato chip and watch a football game. You know what I mean? If it's just left up to me, I ain't going to do that shit. You know what I mean? But she can get me to do that, because again, it's that power. It's that power. Anybody who's been through anybody who's been married for a long time and been through divorce knows how painful it is, but also how, you've learned the power of a woman's presence. You know what I mean?
I do.
I'm getting into feminism horse shit. I'm talking
exactly
about just a woman, man. Just a woman. And so these are things, man, that are just true in the world, and you can't escape them.
Yeah.
But you sure as hell can enjoy them. And, you know, so we got to protect. It's like the line in the movie, what's the one where the Bruce Willis is in it, and he's got to go up there with the oil drilling crew and
go down into the asteroid or something.
Yeah. What's that called again? Armageddon.
Armageddon.
Yeah. So in Armageddon, when
Ben Affleck was in it too.
Yeah, Ben Affleck is talking to Liv Tyler, I think, and they're having a little romantic moment and whatever.
Yeah.
And she said, "Do you think there's other couples doing what we're doing right now? They're laying under a tree, just loving on each other." And he said, "Well, if there isn't, then what are we trying to save?"
Amen.
You know? And so this is what we're trying to save. We're trying to save the woman's presence on the couch that gets us to sit down and watch the game. We're trying to save our gun rights. We're trying to save all kinds of things. We're trying to save this Western tradition. We're trying to save this country. We're trying to save one another. But you don't get it done outside of principle. It's not done by any other way. And it's easy to get caught up in the social media craze because this is now the new way that everybody communicates. Mm-hmm. And so you are your own advertising department. You are your own, design team. You are your own film crew. You are your own everything, your own public relations director. And so, you better be good at what you do, if you're going to stand out and survive and all that. And I just think that people are not necessarily following the best examples when it comes to that. And so the principles are what suffer. That's what suffers. So that's why.
Tell the men in your life that you love them. I don't mean like just to be weird, like, hey man, love you, bro, but like your guy friends.
Only when I'm drunk.
Only when
by the 8th beer, I'm like, I love you, man.
No, I don't mean like that, like in like a smart ass kind of a way. I mean, like if you got a buddy that you are close with and you guys part company, do you say, hey man, I love you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Your friendship or your time is important to me. Just simple things like that.
I haven't gotten to the point to say that to Mac yet.
I tell Mac I love him when I see him. I put my arms on his muscly body and
he's all affection, man. Believe me, we hug every time we see each other and leave. But I turned to Rebecca and I said, because I'll tell Mac how much I appreciate him. I'll tell Rebecca, I said I can't say enough good things about your husband. Just in all seriousness, I can't say enough good things about him. Because obviously they're taking their time out, for me. But no, most definitely, man. And I've got guys. Yeah, and it's kind of. I mean, you come from that church background.
When I was a kid, my father didn't show that kind of affection.
Like, okay, yeah.
Men were men. Pat on the shoulder. What are you crying is for girls and babies? I started that in my own life because I just felt like I think about this constantly. You just said it. What are we protecting? What are we? Philosophers have talked about this for all of time. All the wealth in the world. If you lay your head down at night and hate yourself, hate your life. How many times I just was listening to some Thin Lizzy yesterday, and I was remembering how the singer died. Right. Mm-hmm. I never remembered like the whole context of it. So I spent a minute on Wikipedia just reading about his life and death and how tragic and how many times has that happened? These people, you touched on it earlier in the podcast, but they don't have the tools to actually maintain the success that they have. And then you're dead. Like you're Robin Williams, all these,
oh my gosh,
people. Like it's the stuff doesn't matter. Like the relationships, the connections between people that are real, that are tangible. I get choked up talking to these young men sometimes.
Sure.
And I used to be like, oh man, I'm looking like a pussy. And it's like, if I'm worried about looking like a pussy, I'm now being the exact thing I'm telling them not to be.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think.
I don't know why that popped in my head.
No. I think it's a good point. And I think part of the problem is that people would struggle with something like that is because of the way love is understood. I did a series on relationships in my coaching group called Romeo and Juliet. versus 300, A Tale of Two Love Stories.
Interesting.
And it's a comparison between Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet and the film 300, which is also a love story.
Sure.
Right? The first 15, 20 minutes is all the king and his queen making love and hanging out and with each other. But my contention is that since Shakespeare, and specifically Romeo and Juliet, a particular narrative has governed all fiction and storytelling regarding relationships. And it was the idea that love, this emotional love, takes precedence over everything. In Romeo and Juliet's case, it was their respective houses. They did not want the two together. Well, damn that, because we're in love. But it's not really a love story, because if you read the end of Shakespeare's play, he says, never was there a tale of more misery and woe than the tale of Juliet and her dear Romeo. But that's governed. So whether it's Coming to America with Eddie Murphy or anything on the Lifetime channel, these are just retellings of the same story. Because, they were willing to give up their houses and their wishes in order to be in love and have the relationship. And Eddie Murphy, right, when he lies to the girl in Coming to America, that he's really a prince in some African country. He's acting like this just little, McDonald's worker guy. Yeah. And then she finds out he's a prince. And she gets all mad and runs off. So he chases her. He gets her on the subway and says, do I need to renounce my throne? I will take off this ring, and renounces his throne. Come on, bro. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to do that for a chick. Ain't going to happen, Captain. Right? but it's still Romeo and Juliet, because it's showing you that the primacy is the relationship and not what's at stake. That's been the narrative of every love story ever since that time, until, my contention, the film 300. And the radical break with 500 years of Shakespearean sappiness broke at the moment when the Persian messenger is standing before that bottomless well, before the Spartan king, threatening them with slavery or death. He, has to make this decision in the moment. He doesn't turn to his senators. He doesn't turn to his generals. He doesn't turn to a buddy. He turns to his queen. And in that moment, she does what? She nods her head. Now, what she could have done is pulled a Romeo and Juliet move and said, honey, take slavery, because at least we'll still be together. She said no. Why? Because she understood the sole purpose of her romantic relationship was to serve Sparta. So you're serving a purpose greater than yourself. And otherwise, what are you sacrificing for? Why make up the argument? Why did you guys make up? Because there's something higher that you have to serve. So that's why it's in and out of love for most people, because there's no Sparta that they serve. So if you're in a relationship now, I'm asking anybody who's listening, what's your Sparta? What's the thing you and your most important person in your life are sacrificing for? Or are you just pulling another Romeo and Juliet horse shit? It's good. The sappiness is good. All that romantic stuff is good. King and Queen of Sparta did it too. But when push came to shove, she understood you don't lead to destruction in order to keep yourselves together. No. The sole purpose of your relationship is to work together to serve a greater purpose. What is your Sparta? You can answer that question. You'll have a better understanding of love than you ever did. So when I say love you to somebody else, it's only in the context of Sparta.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting in a sappy way, and you answered the question. So,
but that's what people understand. You know what I mean? When in other words, for you to even feel the question is necessary is because we live in a very non-Spartan society.
Well, it is. I ask it for a reason, because your non-Spartan society we're so superficial. We care so much. Well, I don't want CJ or somebody listening to think I'm not tough, or I'm not.
It's all right. I don't think it anyway.
Yeah, flesh, bone. I'm easily broken.
Right.
but what we were talking about right before that just got me to think about that breaking, it's being real, being authentic. And again, I'm not saying tell all your buddies you love them. That would be disingenuous if you did not, because there's many people that I do not have a Spartan-like relationship with.
Right.
My buddy Z Durham, I told him the other day, like we had a disagreement when we were done. It got a little heated, but it wasn't like, it's nothing like terrible, but we value each other enough as coworkers of sorts, as friends, that like we talked about it. We talked like you and I are talking on an emotional and thought-provoking level. And then we said, okay, man, here's the same way I would communicate with my wife. Here's why I felt this way. I'm sorry that I allowed myself to go to this place, that I lost my temper, and here's how I'm going to address it in the future.
Right.
So then that to me is love. I care enough about you to be open, honest, and forthright with you, which back to what we first talked about is real communication.
Right.
Not this masked bullshit with smoking beers and let's all pretend, hey man, how are you? I'm good. How are you?
That's no. Yeah, no, I mean, and if you want, and this is just a little secret, if you want to do well social media wise, is be a communicator. When people talk to you, and
you're right,
be polite and be thoughtful, and remember, there's certain people that you hear from enough, and I know that they've maybe posted something about their kids or whatever, and I'll ask, so how are your kids? And they're like, what? CJ, the Metal Motivator, just asked me, not just said thanks, but said, hey, how are your kids?
Mm-hmm.
You're
being genuine,
and I am being genuine. I do care about them.
You're not just doing it to knowing that it will hook them emotionally.
No. Yeah. It's you want to. I used to say it this way. I want to become what I say as best I can. I don't want to talk about these things. We joked about it at the outset. I don't live this stuff. I want to become what I say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to. It's like I think it was the movie Armistice. What was the one they were bringing the slaves over or something?
Oh yeah.
And the one slave guy said to the guy in the boat, he said, what kind of country is this when men don't mean what they say? When you are duplicitous, you have two mouths, double-tongued, you speak out of both sides of your mouth. And it's so tempting because it's so easy to do online, because everything is a put on, everything is a front. So whether it's a picture, the imagery and the filters and the whatever you're doing, it's all ostensible. And it's so, to me, you look at it probably the same way that I do. We look at it from enlightened positions. Why? Well, because we've been on the planet for a long time. You used to tell people a long time ago, yeah, man, ever since I've done thus and such, people don't impress me much. Ever since I've seen a lot of shit, I'm just not impressed very much with anything that's just ostensible, anything that's just, there's an Old Testament story where, you know about it when Jacob tries to deceive his father, Isaac. Yeah. And so he puts on the animal skins because his brother,
I'm Esau, touch me.
Because his brother Esau was all hairy and red, hairy arms. So he put on these animal fur on his arms too, because his dad, Isaac, was blind. And so Isaac says something very, very insightful. He says when Jacob comes in posing as his brother Esau, he says he feels his arms and he says the voice is Jacob, but the hands are Esau. The voice is Jacob, but the hands are Esau. And for a lot of people, they're trying to put out a good message, but the hands are Esau, man. It's still that manipulation. It's still that front. It's still that insecure. It's still all that stuff. And you're not being real. And people like this. What pisses me off about is how words get cheapened. Like what Facebook has done to friend.
Mm-hmm.
What's a friend? Well, he's just a Facebook friend. We got to qualify it.
Right? What kind
these
of friend?
Days? Yeah. So it's
the heart emojis and like
same thing, man.
Yeah.
So we got to be careful. So when now people say, well, remember when you're building your brand to be authentic. It's like, really?
Right.
Let me write that fucking, you mean okay, don't lie and be somebody else. You gotta write, you're gonna have to write down and remember to be authentic. You might as well just give up now, bro. If you got to write that shit down, if that has to be taught, give up.
We could have a whole discussion on that. Like any fast food advertisement, it's delicious, wholesome, nutritious shit. Yeah.
It's authentic shit.
Yeah, authentic shit.
That's 100% authentic shit.
That's something I started using in my last couple classes. If you train shit, think about shit, and live shit, your life will be shit. The actions that you or your deeds and actions will be shit. And then don't try to figure out why, because you're living shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is, and I hope now the point becomes clear, because I think anyone who listens to this podcast, we covered so much ground, but everything was principle. Everything was about the deeper issue at stake. And for men especially, I think women too, but for men especially, we want to be challenged. To be thoughtful. We want, okay, yeah, man, make me think. I want to think, especially guys that do the kind of stuff. Someone who gets on a gun range, they've thought through some shit about what they want to do with their life. You know what I mean? It's not just an entertainment. You want to get entertainment, they can just go to the range themselves and almost kill the guy behind them, like the guy on Instagram. But somebody who goes to spend time with you in a course, no matter what ego issues or whatever they have, still, they're thoughtful about what they're doing in life. So somebody who's listening to you is not doing this for the same reason they listen to some bullshit podcast. They want to be challenged mentality.
And the same with you. People are not. You brought up a great point. I have to remind myself of that. The person that's listening to me is already at some stage of seeking.
Right.
And so it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's so much you don't have to do. Yeah. But I think, when I said earlier about defining masculinity, so again, if someone was to listen to this conversation, you're hearing it. You're hearing it. When there was no bravado. Sure, we made our little jokes. Sure, we said our cuss words. Sure, we, did whatever, because all guys do. If Mickey was to fart right now, we would both unanimously laugh. Because no matter who you are, you're still only 5 minutes older than a 5-year-old.
Sure.
That shit doesn't change, man. That shit does not change. But you did at least hear, whether it's on relationships or history or technology or politics or family or whatever, you heard in-depth, principle, worldview shit. This doesn't need a 50-inch chest. It doesn't need to be covered it doesn't need these things. Go get them. I think tattoos are beautiful. Go get them. I think working out and all that stuff is awesome, man. I think all that stuff is great. As long as you're not leaning on it. There are accents. They let them be the manifestation of I just did a series on culture. Culture, another word cheapened by social media, but culture is what you bring out to cultivate, right? You bring out of the ground, agriculture. So you bring out of the ground. So, culture is nothing more than the externalized, manifest values and faith of a society. That's all it is. So if we don't like what we see in culture, then it's coming out of our ground. It's not coming. It's not coming from the president. It's not coming. They're just manifestations of things. We elect men in our own image. That way we don't have to feel bad about ourselves.
Amen.
We can point the blame on somebody else. But that's what culture is. And so I think from people listening to this podcast, I hope they hear a different sound. You know what I mean? I hope they hear a different voice, a different topic, a different way of looking at things. Doesn't make it right. Like Max says, we don't want people drinking our Kool-Aid necessarily. We're not drinking anybody else's. We don't necessarily saying you need to drink our Kool-Aid, but we want to provoke the thought. I would love to see guys leave this and say, hey man, I listened to something the other day. And this is some of the shit they talked about. Sit down over a beer or something and get a little deeper in the conversation. You can always come back to the gun conversation. You can always tell, that's the given. That's the stuff you don't need any motivation to do that. You're going to do that. It's asking these more thoughtful questions, having these more thoughtful conversations that are the harder thing to do. And you can't go get online and talk to Mickey necessarily to do it, but you can talk to a pal about it. You can talk to your wife maybe or whatever about it. But I want to challenge people to really do that, because this is, I think, the re-education process we've got to go through. And, people ask me often, dude, what do we do? As a society, how do we save the world? Blah, blah, blah. I said, well, it's like somebody said to me the other night, they said, I'm just not sure what to do. I said, well, sometimes you're not sure what to do because there's nothing you can do,
True.
To fix the problem. There's nothing you can do. And in our case, I can't change the tax law. I can't get us out of a particular military engagement overseas. I can't change laws about, all the things that people want government to do or not do. I can't do all those things, but what I can do is start the discussion now. I can start the education process, because I'm not going to go to college to learn this shit. I'm relying upon podcasts and things to hear from other people and speak into my life. And yeah, you want somebody to earn the right to speak into your life. Don't just let anybody into your head. Mm-hmm. You're somebody I would say, Mickey is somebody I would have at the council table. This is somebody I want to speak into my life. And because I know he's going to value me, and I know he's going to be, he's going to speak with conviction, all the things that you want in some kind of relationship. So if you've got somebody like that in your life, or several people like that, you need to change that dialogue. Don't wait for anybody else to do it, man. Change the conversation, and please delve deeply into these things. Our world depends on it. Our kids are dependent upon it. Your little trailer park aristocracy depends on it. Do it, man, because and you'll know you will when the coin finally drops and you fall in love with wisdom, right? Proverbs, pursue it like pursuing a woman, like pursuing hidden treasure. Then you'll find knowledge. Wisdom, knowledge, understanding. That's how you govern the world. That's how the world was made. That's what it reeks of. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It's teeming with it. That's technology. Technology is that. Wisdom, knowledge, understanding. I can know something is an engine and the engine has a problem. I can understand how an engine works and how to fix it, but it's wisdom when I apply it. Mm-hmm. You need wisdom, you need knowledge, you need understanding, all of these things. And let this stuff soak in your head, let it get into your heart. Mickey talked earlier about, you talked about the subconscious. Let it get down in there. And as I said earlier, become what you say, man. And you are the heroes right now this world is looking for, because we need them desperately right now.
That is how we change the world. That is one of the things I say to myself every day, at least 100 times a day, is I move men's hearts and minds with my words and actions.
Absolutely.
I said that to myself for probably 8 or 10 years. And when I get a message from somebody like you talked about that says, hey man, that thing that you did, it really meant something, I say to myself, I moved that man's heart or mind with my words and actions. And I see that stuff come to fruition, and it's that freaking simple. So we just got to start acting on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, so to finish this last thought, one of the, I have a video, I have articles, videos on it. It's the most, I call it the greatest secret I've ever learned. And when I learned it for myself, then I heard something years later that Steve Jobs had said back in the early, this is before all the Steve Jobs movies came out. So they used it in the movies, which I was appreciative of, but I had seen it from an old Next interview that he had done in the early 90s. But I had shifted from that fatalism to determination, that everything was dependent upon me to create this future, etc. But I call it the greatest secret I've ever learned because it changed my life so radically. I became very proactive about everything. And in this interview, I saw it one day, was a confirmation for me. It was Steve Jobs when he was with Next. He had just left Apple. And he says, for most of us, we just kind of come into this world and we just kind of grow up in it, and we're told what to do. Don't bang into the walls too much, save some money, retirement, work hard and take care of yourself. And that's it. Because then that's a good life. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that life until you understand one thing though. that everything you see around you that you call life, whether it's the guy who, the transportation system or the sanitation system or the government or the plasma screen TV, or all the things that you call life was made up by people who are not that much smarter than you, you know, and that you can make your own things, that you can mold and shape and do things. And he goes, and when you finally learn that when you poke something in this world and that something pops out on the other side, that you can mold it, that you can shape it, that you can change it, he goes, that's probably the greatest thing you'll ever learn. And your life will never be the same again. That you'll stop accepting life and the world as is. And you'll say, no, I'm not waiting for things to work out. I'm not waiting for things to happen. Because the only thing that's going to happen, the only life that's going to get worked out is the life you don't want. So you have to work this out. You have to be the determining agent. And once that really goes off in you, man, dude, I'm serious. It'll put horseshoes in your boxing gloves.
That's, that happened to me about 10 years ago. I had understanding of some of these things. And once I finally took hold of that, we still doubt ourselves though, right? It still pops up like this thing I'm working on. What if they laugh at me? What if I fail? What if it costs me a bunch of money and I get no return? Those are the things that we continually process through. Like, it's like, how big a bite can I take out of this world and not be afraid I'm going to choke on it? And that's kind of like one of my goals. Like, I take bigger and bigger bites. And if the thing really scares me, it's I know I'm trying. If I've got no reservations whatsoever, some people might look at that and say like, oh, you just haven't programmed yourself to win. Nah, like if I don't have a single reservation, if something doesn't in the back of my head be like, oh, you're really doing what you like, you really doing that? And I know I'm not trying.
Right.
And when I feel that, like, I know, you know.
Well, going back, it was
hold that thought for 1 second.
Yeah, please.
I was literally about to piss my pants. I couldn't take it. No,
sir. I took a few minutes to be. I had to take a few minutes to be authentic on social media.
Oh yeah, what did you sort out?
I was just looking at Mac climbing up a hill backwards, climbing up that sand hill. They always go up backwards, then throwing one of those Sorinex balls, and then.
Got it. I don't want to stop your train of thought. I was just saying.
It was going back to the issue of when you said you realized you had moved men to, what was it, thought and action, or? Yeah, it's and just to make sure what people are not misunderstanding me. I'm not saying like I move mountains or it's, well, that is what I'm saying, but it's not. It is the application of what we're talking about here. It's not Mickey. Nor am I saying it's God. It is the application of, if you put a match to something, it will catch on fire. If you apply leverage to something, it will move. So to your point, I began to realize if I apply certain things, there will come a result, be it good or bad. Right. And I, through auto-suggestion, self-talk, programming, have told myself, I move men's hearts and minds with my words and actions. That bit of knowledge applied can be good or evil though. You can move people to drink the Kool-Aid. People hear that and don't realize that how many people died in that jungle. Do you remember? Was it like 800 or something? And the
Jim Jones.
What was that? What was the name of that place?
Jonestown,
yeah.
But people don't remember that we say drink the Kool-Aid and we just think it means like follow along. It means follow along and die.
And die for it.
They drank strychnine or whatever and killed themselves.
Yeah.
And that shit happens. So that moving of hearts and minds, I've seen it happen enough times where I now am fearful in a reverent way of this physical law that I see exists. People might hear me say this and be like, what kind of crack ass shit's he talking about? Mm-hmm. It can be, this is how people lure children to do evil things. This is how people do all kinds of evil, is they are leveraging that law of nature that exists. So through realizing that, while if you said to me, you could be president one day, there's still part of me that's like, nah, that's not true. And I would tell you, don't think that, man, if you really believed it. But the other part of my brain knows, okay, he's got enough history that it would be very hard for him to get through the press. And, I could logically break that down. But then there's things like that S12 event I just did. In the big scheme of the world, it's whatever. It was a business idea that I came up with, and to most of the 99.999% of the world, it means nothing. But to me, it was my reputation, my personal fortune, the reputations of friends that align themselves with me. So I got very stressed out about it. And I knew it's going to be good because that's the way we do things, and we're going to make it work. But still, it put me to a level of uncomfort or discomfort, rather, that like, all right, I know I'm challenging myself. Right. Dealing with large corporations that could, if you piss off 10 of these or one of these companies in this small industry that we work in, that could be it for me. Yeah. So oftentimes we understand, okay, I can affect the world around me, but then the challenge is never anything that causes any kind of growth or expansion or change. Yeah.
I preached at big events and didn't see much out of it. You got your applause. That's about it. But then I've been in a room not at a podium, but sitting around a room of 6 or 7 people and really brought influence. I think we've obviously deposited a lot of Bible in this discussion, but I think, Jesus is another example of that, where, there was the 5,000 who came out for the fishes and loaves, but they'll leave once that fishes and loaves run out, and he didn't depend on the 70. He didn't say, give me 5,000 people and I'll do wonders. No, he said, give me 12 men I can invest myself in for 3.5 years and I'll change the world forever.
Which is what we're talking about. The little spark that you could start in your own heart and another man's heart, our revolution that we were talking about. 56 men signed their name to the Declaration. People take that and they go, well, some of them were slaveholders. Okay, we could argue that the optics of today, all of history, but right, wrong, or indifferent, 56 men sat down. It wasn't 20,000 federal employees didn't do it. No, 6 dudes sat around drinking dirty beer and eating mutton and said, here's what we're going to do.
Right. Yeah. And that shows you the power of ideas. And, if you really want to be driven by something, you find your idea or your ideal. An idea is, again, those things that sort of transcend matter. And again, so anything that transcends, that can continue over time, no matter how much the personnel change over history. That a lot of personnel changed since the original founding fathers, but the principle and the ideal is what will hold on. So that's what we got to keep talking about. That's what we got to keep teaching. You said when you brought up the shot heard around the world from April 19th. A lot of guys don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. So we need to talk about it. We need to remind people of what here is at stake, and at the core of it is an ideal. And again, so long as you're representing, not substituting, representing ideals and principles, man, you've got a tremendous amount of history and weight behind everything you do, everything you say, and you're going to find that your stuff out there on social media is going to get through, because there's just something intangible that people are going to recognize about it. And it's like they'll look at me and they'll say, dude, I forget that it's the Metal Motivator now. I kind of it's just, that's what attracted at first. It was like, the whole look at this shtick he's doing or whatever. But then after listening to you for a long time, I just don't even think about it anymore. It's just CJ, and it's just, but I'm focused on what you're saying. I'm saying, well, good, because I don't want you to focus so much on me and all of that. It's about these ideals. And boy, it's tough, man. But you want to be the keeper of the flame. You want to be like that orator who said, when Demosthenes got up, they said, let's march against Philip. We don't want to hear a bunch of pretty words, man. Let's do something that causes people to take action, because there are very real forces that are trying to take your country away from you.
Hell yeah.
They hate your founding fathers. They hate your skin color. They hate. I mean, right now, dude, we share two things that are almost juxtaposed. Number one, we are white American males. So you're about as high on the food chain as you can possibly get.
In the totality of living on this planet.
Yeah, we have no concept of prejudice, really. We have no concept of oppression. We don't know what it's like to depend on someone. You know, imagine what it is like to grow up female when you know you're a liability coming into the world. You know what I mean? Because that's the way that they're trying to break out of the system. But I'm just saying that's the way the system is. So girls grow up thinking about, well, who am I going to marry? Who am I going to marry? Guys grow up, don't think about that shit. They're thinking about, what am I going to do? You know, it's a whole different paradigm for men. Girls grow up reading the romance novels, and guys grow up head soaked in Playboy. So they both bring unrealistic expectations to marriages or relationships. But we are both that, high on the food chain, but yet at the same time becoming the more hated. Because you're a white American male. You're the source of all that is evil and all that is bad and all that is whatever. And yeah, you fart the wrong direction, you're a racist. You do this the wrong direction, you're patriarchal. You do this, you're a misogynist. You're a this, you're a that. You're a fascist, you're whatever. And I think in the end, that's what people are warring against. I think that's what society is more. It's more than a politician they're after. Trump is just one more symbol of what they hate. And the only problem is that for now, and it's a good thing, the most contained, responsible people that are sucking it all up are these same males. You know, I mean, God forbid the day that the majority of men are no longer afraid of being called a racist or a misogynist or whatever. What happens when that goes away?
Right.
Do you have any idea what males are capable of? Especially these kind. We don't protest in the streets. You'll die in your beds and not be able to figure out why. I'm looking at you right now and you've got your tool sets and all this. This is the kind of shit we have. We don't protest in the street and burn cars, bro. We create insidious evil that will kill millions. You know what I mean? Don't bite the hand that feeds you, so to speak. But, you know, and I know I sound really terrible right now, but I'm just saying there's a target here politically and socially and culturally.
Just so people understand what you're saying is you're not trying to sound terrible. You're just describing what is.
Yeah, it's just the case. And, you know, we need, like I said, you know, to me, the most powerful thing in the world is a mother's love for children. And that's the thing I think as men, we mainly need to provide for and to protect. And so, you know, we have
told me that one of the first times I talked to you, and I thought that was extremely profound, not to stroke your ego, but here's two dudes that never met, first time on the phone. One of the things that you said within 20 minutes of us talking is the most powerful thing in the world is a mother's love. And I don't know too many dudes that think about those kinds of things. Well, that's actually not true. Most of the dudes I hang out with think about those things. But for the most part, if you walked into a grocery store, bowling alley, hardware store, and just said, hey, dude, come here for a minute. Let me ask you, do you ever think about how powerful a mother's love is? The guy'd be like, what the are you talking? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I people do strip a gear when you get on these sort of subjects because, again, it's worldview oriented. You got to have a larger concern because I'm talking about the woman, but I'm talking about the woman being powerful in relation to the survival of humanity. So it's always attached to this larger Sparta. Again, the larger issue at stake. Always remind yourself of what the larger non-matter based transcendent ideal is. Keep your mind because that's what causes you to sacrifice. And so what this does is it gives you a role or a function for everybody. It's like this the question of equality. It's the question of equality is a completely irrelevant question. That's how people want to talk about the social order. Equality, men, women, blacks, whites, whatever, equal. It's got nothing to do with equality. It has to do with order. Order. Your kids are equal to you before the law, right? We are all equal before the law. We are all equal, for so many things. But in terms of the function of institution, the function of family, then you've got to have order. Your kids can't be so equal where they get to make decisions about what happens with the finances too. Let's get your 5-year-old
in the minivan and get in a Corvette.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Let your kids sit at the table and make those decisions. No, you're going to have order. It is not equality. It's an order among equals. And it's everywhere, and it's always going to be apparent.
Another principle.
Right. It's another principle that's just there. It's not 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, like in a ladder descending 10, 9 up from top to bottom. It's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. It's on a plane. Mm-hmm. It's an order amongst equals. We are all equal in that sense, but there is a different order. There is a different function. And sure, people can break out of it. The girl can have the super short haircut and be a lesbian and do all this, whatever she wants to
have a short haircut without being a lesbian.
I don't know. I've never pondered that question before.
Okay.
But this is
Jamie Lee Curtis has nice short hair.
Yeah, she does. But she gets, but these, in other words, people can do whatever they want, right? But they do whatever they want under the canopy of those who do what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. It's under the canopy of men being men in the traditional sense, women being women in the traditional sense, families being families in the traditional sense. All of these things are operating based on principle, based on traditional values, and people enacting them. And that's what gives you the luxury to be the weird person that you want to be, of 1,000 genders, and point your finger at the rest of it and say it's all a bunch of tyranny. Mm-hmm. But take it all away and let it be run by your lot. Do you know what the world would be like?
Right. Well, that's the funny thing. The gentleman the other day that was complaining about how all of us that are sucking the government, this is literally the stuff he was saying, we're all blinded and we're all followers. And it made me laugh because dude, you would already have your head caved in by a hammer if the world was run. I didn't say this, but that's as I'm reading it, like this man's version of the world would be Mad Max. Not that that's what he'd want. He'd like the order that is today without any consequences for his actions. No taxes, no speed limits, no violation of law if he punches somebody at a bar where he gets arrested. But not realizing for us to be able to act that way, we would be like Mad Max, where we were drinking our piss and clubbing each other. And
I'll tell people, I said, listen, any government, there's multiple means of government that would work. We could have a monarchy, so long as the king is good, but monarchy sucks when the king is a jackass, right? So there's all kinds of different systems that can work, but the issue is not so much the system as much as it is the heart. And the heart of man is wicked, and who can know it? Jeremiah said. So if that being the case, you want a system that has checks and balances. So in that regard, the American system is a better one at dealing with wickedness in that sense. Now, of course, it's gone off the rails because the bureaucracy has only grown greater and government has only become more centralized. So yeah, it's getting into other things, but still there's so much of that tradition there of a system of checks and balances that, you can't, anybody in office can't just run roughshod. If Trump really was the evil, whatever that his political opponents want to make him out to be, well then, yeah, he'd have his wall in a week and he'd get rid of whoever it was he needs to get rid of, and it would all be done because he literally is a dictator, and a dictator can dictate anything he wants, whenever he wants, at the time he wants, whatever. Not a problem. Well, obviously he's not doing all that. Why? Because he's surrounded by the balance of power. And there's a lot of people, bureaucrats, but they're making it slow going. So nobody can just do anything. So we've got enough in the American system that, to me, it's still the best system to preserve and to protect and to, yes, we definitely need to make it right. We definitely need to fix some stuff. But, you gotta be careful with conspiracy theory. I get it. But, obviously the dark force behind any conspiracy, they can't make up their minds on who exactly that is. Whether it's
I have been involved in politics. I said up to congressional races. I have friends that are in Congress now. I'm looking at a picture of me with our governor, our lieutenant governor, another governor on the wall over here. And these are men that I know personally. One of them I'm looking at has a degree from Dartmouth and Yale. Very smart man, billionaire, self-made billionaire.
Wow.
But that man's not smart enough to hide anything from the light of day. I mean, you can't get thousands of people to create a conspiracy and then nobody gets drunk and starts mouthing off at a bar one night. Nobody leaves a memoir. Humans are too selfish to be able to do anything at that level.
It's more. There are, a conspiracy by definition is just something between two people. It's all you have to have in order to have a conspiracy. So there are conspiracies in the sense that there are people who are conspiring to achieve particular agendas.
Which is no different than what you and I are talking about. We technically have a conspiracy to make America a wonderful place.
We are conspiring together to do good, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, it's the problem I have is when conspiracy theory becomes a divinizing of the relative. Divinizing of the relative. In other words, you are making something subject to time and space godlike. You divinize what is relative, what is subject to the elements, just like we are. And sure, you can get in. There are people who are involved in secret societies. They're involved in, whatever, and they may do some crazy stuff. But again, man, there's balance of power, and there's a lot of good people out there that the majority have nothing to do with this stuff. And, it's when just realize that the guy who's telling you need to juice your food is selling you a juicer, and the guy who's selling you the conspiracy, DVD or whatever, it's in his interest to scare the shit out of you.
Right.
And he's going to tell whatever.
I'm not suggesting that there's not evil people that try to devise evil. It's just that all the laws that we have, some person sat down and goes, you know what? Old Ethel called and said that we need an ordinance that dogs can't bark all night. And they wrote that, and then they went and got it passed. There's always some person that sat down and thought of the thing and made the thing come to life. So there's not a bunch of hooded figures somewhere in the woods going, we're going to control all of mankind, because there's a lot of people that believe that because it's easy to believe that versus reality, that they're just not doing their civic duty to stop laws or ordinances from taking place or changing them.
It's the old saying, man, when good people do nothing. So it does. It gets back to us, and sometimes the bad guys win, but most often it's the good guys that win. And we are in a strange time, and there are people who hate your values, they hate your beliefs, they hate your tradition, and they don't want any part of it. You're seeing that the attack is on everything from the flag to gunning down police officers to, you name it. They are attacking on every front because that's the nature of revolution. Revolution has become kind of a friendly term now, Let's start the iPhone revolution. Let's do the whatever. Now, revolution is a violent thing.
Yeah, nooses and guillotines.
Oh yeah, it's a violent thing. I mean, you ask the Tsar what a revolution is like when the Bolsheviks came in and just slaughtered his family, because revolutionaries don't want to wait for change. They don't want to work for change. They want to tear it down. That's why Antifa is what Antifa is, because they're revolutionaries. You don't question what they're doing. They're doing exactly what a revolutionary does. They don't want change in the sense that you want change. They're not looking for electoral ballots. They're not looking for, legislation. They want to burn it down because it's not fixable to them. They've been, propagandized. No, they look at a guy like Mickey who's teaching people to shoot guns, and they see this white guy and they just like, with a gun, it's just like, no, with an American flag on his sleeve. No, that's what we want to destroy, man. That's what we want to tear down. And so that's the nature of so you're contending with revolutionaries. But if Antifa is as serious as it gets, I mean, I'm not too impressed, to be honest with you. But
no. I watched a cool documentary a couple nights ago. Wife went to bed. I couldn't sleep. I'd seen it on, I think it was on Netflix or Amazon Prime. I'd seen it a bunch of times and I never watched it. It's called Mr. Rogers and Me. You know who Mr. Rogers was, Fred Rogers. And I thought, I'm going to watch it.
Dude, believe, I'm just going to stop you right here. I want you to continue. Believe it or not, I did a week-long series in my coaching group on Mr. Rogers.
Okay, well, then you'll appreciate this. So the premise of the documentary, a young man who was a writer for MTV, grew up in a broken home, and he's got to be close to 50 now, from what I remember. His family had property in Nantucket, I believe, rented a little shack. They weren't rich people. They'd go out there in the summertime. Well, he's there, and Mr. Rogers' family had a property there. So he literally was Mr. Rogers' neighbor. And he tells a story about how the first time he met him, Fred Rogers walks in the house. It was his kid's birthday, and he hears Fred's voice. Where's the birthday boy? So he talks about the time that he got to spend with Fred. And of course, this guy's got like every award under the sun, including like the Presidential Freedom Medal and all these different things. And he was this kind, sweet man. The one thing I took away from the whole documentary, besides what we already know about Fred Rogers' life, was they laced in all these cool quotes that were too high level for the TV show for kids. But he was quoted as saying, every time we interact with another human being, we leave a little bit of ourselves with them. What do you want that remnant or artifact to be? I kind of paraphrased the end of it, but it was like, man, that's so right. Like, shit, here comes Bob. That guy's always pissed off. Or there's John. He's always angry. Yeah, but you probably have friends where it's like, man, I love being around that guy. He always makes me feel good. He always makes me, whatever is weighing on me, I forget about it when I'm around them. Like, how hard is it for us to be that person? And if we all became that person just a little tiny bit, back to your capital, talking about the capital that our grandfathers, great-grandfathers created, all we're doing is just investing little bits. We're putting a little bit back in that bank, and it's not even that hard. It's not that hard, but we keep looking for the high-level thing, and it doesn't need to be that big of a deal. And look at that guy did. I mean, a freaking TV show of puppets and choo-choo trains and soft speech. One of the other things he said, he goes, and this was him in an interview alone, he goes, I don't hate much, but the one thing I hate, and I'm hearing his voice as I'm saying it, the one thing I hate is when one person insults or talks down to another person. He said, it's the one thing I just truly hate. And I'm guilty of it. I've done it a million times in my life. And he talks about he was a fat kid growing up and the other boys picked on him, but his father always would tell him, you're a wonderful boy, Fred. You're an amazing boy. You're a marvelous boy. And that's what he left on the world, was he told all of us as kids. You grew up watching him, right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
You heard that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like one of my pet peeves is I hate the word ugly. So whether behind someone's back
Are you talking about in the context of like, God, that chick was ugly? Something.
Yeah. Or somebody's, you could point all of those guns you got behind you at my head, and I will not say to somebody that they are ugly.
What created that? I mean, that's a pretty big.
Well, I think
podcast is going to become 2 parts.
Yeah, I think early on, I'm sort of obviously had a propensity for this, what I eventually got into, inspirational kind of things. So, and I realized that words had power. And so I never criticized my kid's mother. Never once. She would tell you that. She would say, never once has he ever said a critical word, not about the food that was served, the way I looked, anything. Never, ever, ever. Because I always felt words have power to build up or to destroy. More than anything, it was words. And I was a middle child. So I was having this conversation with Pat Mack and his wife, Rebecca, the other night. I said, I was a middle child. And the thing about middle children is my mom loved the shit out of me and my 2 brothers, but I'm the textbook middle child. I mean, 3 boys, 18 months apart. So I'm just right smack dab in the middle. So it's not because I was mistreated or neglected or anything. It's just a social dynamic that happens. Mm-hmm. And so I found community outside, in other people, not in my family. So they say one of the things about middle children is they're very hard to get to family events. So the family's having a reunion or whatever, the one who you're going to have to twist his or her arm is that middle child, because they see things externally in terms of community. And so I learned early on how I needed to because you'll say whatever to your family, but you realize you've got to be more careful in community. The repercussions are, you can just fight things out with your brother. Mm-hmm. But you say the wrong thing out in the world, and that's a whole other thing. But I just learned early on, I think, in dealing with community, that it was always better to speak well of someone and to, do whatever and build them up, not necessarily to tear them down. But I just, I can always think there's not many words, like a mother can say, or a father can say to his kid or daughter, I hate you. And that's devastating. That is totally devastating. But a stranger could say that to you, and that doesn't mean much. Mm-hmm. But a stranger could call you ugly, and that'll devastate your soul. When you hear it then from stranger and from family member, then it gets even worse. So to me, that word itself is just it's so intentionally distorting to someone. It's like pouring acid on their face. Like the difference between jealousy and envy. Jealousy is, when you're jealous of your ex-boyfriend's cheerleader girlfriend that he broke up with you, is dating. That's jealousy. When you go and tie her down with your friends and pour acid on her face, that's envy. And to me, ugly has that same viciousness to it. It's irreparable. You can instantly, because somebody can work out in their mind, well, my dad was a drunk, so when he said he hated me, he was all messed up from his youth or whatever. How do you erase ugly? Mm-hmm. It's hard to do. It's just, so to me, it's just the most cruel thing you can say. And I hear people say it all the time, and so to me, yeah. And I think that's, like I said, I spent a week on Fred Rogers. But to me, people say, when I describe what I do, I'll say, well, I'm like Tony Robbins meets Metallica. That's what Metal Motivation is. So people get it. I'm not like Tony Robbins, and I'm not even like Metallica. It's just a way to explain what I do. Sure. But in that series, I said, if I am anything, I'm much, much more Fred Rogers meets Metallica than I am Tony Robbins meets Metallica.
I'd agree with that.
Just in the sense that I'm the scope of the vision of what you're trying to achieve is so much bigger and not Tony is focused on people getting past their hangups so they can achieve their goals and get that personal transformation, which is good.
Yeah.
Listen, I want you to improve your sales. I want you to improve your golf swing. I'm not going to lose a sleep over it, though. It doesn't, like a friend of mine used to say, the problem that infuriates you the most is the one you're supposed to solve. Right? Mm-hmm. And those to whom you have compassion are those to whom you've been assigned. And never go where you're tolerated, always stay where you're celebrated. Just very simple way of approaching what you're supposed to do with your life. Mm-hmm. So when I look at the problems that infuriate me, it's not your golf swing. To be fair to Tony, though, I mean, he does do a lot of stuff that has to do with matters of the heart as well. Oh, sure, he does. No, what I'm saying is it's atomistic, though. Okay. In other words, he doesn't preach Sparta. Yeah. He preaches you. It's self-interest, right? Right? Agreed. Nothing as pleasant as the sound of your own name, so that's what he's talking about. Although, if everything he teaches could be applied to everything that we're talking about, it's all the same stuff. Sure, yeah. I'm more in the territory, again, of a Fred Rogers. I'm obviously more in the territory of religion, in the sense that it's more about the moral principle at stake. It's more about worldview stuff. It's more about philosophy. This is, again, going to be more the domain. We haven't said shit about, how to improve your self-image in this conversation. We figure, well, the motivational guy, isn't he supposed to be talking about the self-image? I mean, in the bald sense that it's mostly used. No, we're talking about stuff that definitely will transform your self-image. Far better than you blowing sunshine up your own ass. Mm-hmm. Far better than your mantras. No, there was a guy back in the early days of my Facebook page, when this was like 2010, I think, I had gotten to 5,000 followers on my business page. That was huge back then. Yeah. Huge. What's it at now? I'll be passing 100,000 here, and probably by tomorrow. A friend of mine came over, and he's a fantastic musician and singer and songwriter and producer. And so he was asking me about, hey man, he saw the Metal Motivation thing as related to Facebook. How's your Facebook thing doing? So I said, oh, it's about 5,000 people now. He goes, what? He was just like, what? Are you serious? That was like huge to him. Mm-hmm. So he said, how'd you do this? So I started to break down the whole secret sauce of the idea of metal motivation and how social media works and what was my approach and why it was viral and all this stuff. And the more I described it, I noticed the more he sat up in the chair, to where towards the end, literally, when people say edge of the seat, I know what they mean now. He was right there. His ass was literally on the very edge of the seat. And he's got a big one. But his ass was literally on the edge of the seat. And he said, dude, you know what I could do? He said, I could do this and this and this and this, the same thing. He was fired up. I never said a word to try and motivate him. Mm-hmm. All I did was show him how. Mm-hmm. That's it. Motivation is already built in. What we want to do is show you how. This is how life works. This is how. Try this way with your wife and your kids now. Try this way on the range now. You're having trouble with getting your whatever. Try this. Wow, man, that little trick worked. Making, changed everything, and then motivation is just built in. It's just now that you're firing better, you're shooting better. Now you're like, now you're spending more time at the range because you got past that little thing. Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about, is just that. Motivation, all that stuff is built in. So I don't want to be a cheerleader. Like tell somebody, listen, man, you could have 1 million cheerleaders and you're still not going to win the Super Bowl. Man, it's all about how. It's all about all of these things firing at the same time and you working all this stuff out. I'm not going to throw gas on the car. We got to put that gas in the car. And that, when you turn it on and you get things moving, it's designed to work. You're designed to be motivated. You had to learn to become negative. You had to learn to you're wired to be motivated, period. The very fact that you have in you now, and I don't care who it is listening, everybody has this. The very fact that you have the ability in some capacity to help someone else is all the evidence you need to know that you're not supposed to live selfishly. Right?
That's true.
I don't want to serve anybody. Well, yeah, but you have the capacity to. So which is true? The resident capacity that you had nothing to do with, or this recently gleaned attitude? The authority is in the capacity that you have. So change the attitude. So I just want people to recognize what's at stake, the Sparta, what's available to them, the principle, and what they already have naturally in them. They don't need to fire themselves up. If you still are working to fire yourself up, it's only because you have knowledge, but you don't understand yet. It's wisdom, knowledge, understanding. You don't understand. Once you do, then you'll get busy. You won't even need the rah-rah because you're too consumed being fired up with knowing how.
I think sometimes the knowing, we get mired in that paralysis through analysis business where we have to know all the steps. We have to see my wife, I love her to death. She's very organized. That sounded negative. My wife is a person where I just heard myself. I'm not about to say, I'm not like.
You didn't say ugly, so that's cool.
No, but she's the kind of person though, like that event I just did. For her to do that, she would have to see a whole blueprint and then plug all the pieces in. That's the way her brain's designed, which is why she's not doing what I do or what you do, where I can go, all right, I see kind of what I want. I'm going to just start. I'm going to pick a date. I'm going to start talking about it. And that's just that's how my brain works. And I think a lot of people, they start thinking about how do I be happy or kinder or whatever, richer, sleep better. And they can't just like a savings account. You don't get to a mountain of gold by putting a mountain of gold in the bank. You got to just start little bit by little bit. And sometimes you go backwards. Sometimes you have a blunder and you got to start back over. And what's one of my most favorite poems? My brain just went blank. If you could risk all your winnings on one game of pitch and toss, the poem I'm thinking of, and stoop and pick it up and build it again without ever saying a word of it. Like these things happen, but we get so fixated on well, if I'm going to do it, it's all just a good way of not getting started because we've got tons of bullshit excuses.
Yeah. I said to, I was talking to Matt, I think it was the podcast or the conversation after, I was talking to Mac and I said, people want to know exactly what they're going to do before they do it. They want to choose a career.
If you could answer that, then you wouldn't.
Yeah. I got to know exactly what it is so I can say this is my goal or whatever. But then people get stifled and they get neutralized and they don't go anywhere. You can't steer a parked car, right? So they don't go anywhere. Because they want to know. So they say, why is this so hard to make a decision, CJ? I said, because you're trying to make something too specific. It's easier to make a general decision than a specific one. So make a general one. Move in the general direction of your gifts, talents, abilities, and interests, and then adjust as you go.
I was just going to say, thinking about that, I don't know how many times it's an analogy, so it's not a direct comment on it, but how many times we've just gone on a country ride, rambling along with no particular place or destination in mind, and you would listen to the radio, sun and wind in your hair, and maybe you see a beautiful sunset that never popped up. Maybe you come upon a restaurant that you've never seen, and now it's your new favorite place. Maybe you see a house or, piece of property for sale, and it becomes your new home. Like sometimes you just got to start moving, and you see something or something new will present itself. That's not always perfect.
I think in just about anything in life that people struggle with, that's probably the best advice you can give them. Just keep moving.
Just do something.
Yeah. Do something. Yeah. Because the answer is on the other side of that thought, the thing that you're so reluctant to do. The energy that you need, is on the other side of just that little bit of effort. I mean, I'll tell people often, if you're struggling with, you're lazy or whatever, and just not feeling up to it, I said, just start on something very easy to do. Clean the coffee table, empty the dishwasher, something very simple to do.
Back to the little bite
Yeah, because it creates that momentum, right? And so it's easier to keep going doing something than it is to keep starting and stopping. So do something simple. Don't even focus on the garage that you've got to organize. Let's just do this. Your soul needs good news.
That's good. Your soul needs good news.
And little victories are good news. So fill your life with every day with little victories. A clean coffee table, a made bed, a kiss to the wife, a good word to your kid, clean your gun, wipe your truck down, whatever. Give yourself lots of little victories, lots of reasons to feel better, about yourself. You'd be amazed, man. That confidence just builds up slowly. And so it's a progressive dominion. People, I hate the word. I mean, I use it. It's in the name of my coaching group, but I sometimes despise the way it gets distorted. But the word domination, it's good. I mean, I love to dominate in the right way.
I just got goosebumps.
Right. But I love even more the word dominion. I love even the word dominion, like a king's domain, to rule and to govern and to, stand on your own hind legs and govern things. See yourself as having this domain that you're responsible for. This thing that you're going to cultivate and keep and grow and increase, it's yours, man. It doesn't belong to anybody else, but you're responsible for it. And so take a look around you and, see what needs to be done, what needs to be changed. And it can be overwhelming when you look at it all in toto. But when you just say, I'm going to start doing little things because I just need to reprogram my head. Way too much time stinking thinking. Now we're getting motivational. Way too much time stinking thinking. So I need to reprogram my mind. But the thing is that it's very hard to do that just with your mind, because your mind believes what it sees. And so you can't think positive and sit on a couch, because the mind needs to see positive.
It's back to, you got to start moving.
Yeah, positive people move. So the mind. So if you're moving and cleaning up something, it resonates with your mind. So your mind says, "Okay, we are in agreement now." Right.
You're doing something. Yeah.
You can't be a house divided against yourself, right? You got to have, they both got to be firing on the same message. So if the mind is saying motivational stuff, and you're trying to get your mind to say that sort of stuff, well, let your body do little things that resonate with that, reflect that. And you'll start to become what you say. And that's always the goal, man. Always the goal.
Here's kind of my final synopsis of what we've talked about. All of this stuff is my opinion, and I'll let you comment what you think. And I'll let you, but make sure you have time to comment on it. I'll allow you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's all self-love. I touched on that a moment ago. I love myself enough that I'm going to allow myself to have a life worth living, not to be remembered for how great I was, but to leave something behind greater than myself, to leave something behind that. And that is what love is, right? We give selflessly.
Right.
And sometimes saying that to people, they're like, well, isn't that kind of arrogant, saying that you're that important, that you're going to do all of these things? No, man, like that's your lack of love for yourself of making you feel that way.
Right.
The Beatles, the last song, the end from the last album they recorded. Remember what the last lyrics were? Mm-hmm. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. Yeah. You're not a Beatles guy, but to me, that's one of the great.
Well, I love the Beatles. I love the Beach Boys and all that stuff, but not enough to know the last song on the last album.
Well, that's a pretty poetic, like the fact that they made that the last lyrics that they recorded together. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. And it's, it's cutesy, whatever. But if you really think about it, they understood it. Paul did. I've seen him live. The guy's 70 something years old. He moves around like he's a kid, but it can't just be, what do I get out of this life? Because then what is the purpose?
No, I would say it very similar. And it's one of the main tenets of metallosophy. It's that we all have a sacred duty, an obligation to ourselves. And that is to maximize all that you are and all that you can do for a purpose greater than yourself. If you want fulfillment in life, that's all you need to do. And money and these other things are manifestations oftentimes of that commitment, but you have a responsibility to maximize, because you have so much more in you. So maximize all that you are You know, your character, personality, who you are as a human, all that you can do for a purpose greater than yourself.
That's a big bingo right there, man. Manifestations, what you just said. The money is the result of what you did. It is. It's the big muscles are a result of who you are, of what you do. It's not. It's not the end all be all. It's just the byproduct of your life.
Yeah. So yeah. Awesome. So you got to treat it sacred, because it is sacred. Every great thing that's ever happened in the world, all these wonderful things that have happened since the campfire and the founding of the wheel, have all been because people have honored that sacred duty to themselves. You know, followed their interests, followed their passion. Thank God the Edisons and the whoever's, Alexander Graham Bells and Wright brothers and whoever the hell else.
Louis Pasteur, he's one.
Yeah, Louis Pasteur. Thank God they honored what was inside them.
Yeah, because they could have said, "No thanks, I don't want to do this. I want to go to the ball game."
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, and they did it not for themselves. They knew, they had to pacify whatever that was. So that's
Da Vinci, Mozart, all
oh my gosh, man, absolutely. Yeah, it's so yeah. I think that is the summary of it all. Is that you got to love yourself. You have a duty to yourself. Yeah, there's a sacredness to it. Maximize all you are, all that you can do for that purpose, and you'll find fulfillment, not the fleeting happiness stuff. I got a new car, I'm happy. I wrecked it, I'm unhappy. Not that kind of thing. The Pursuit of Happiness is the name of the film. I think it's just not the greatest thing in the world. Fulfillment is what you want. Why? Because fulfillment. It's got the word full and the word fill in it. Fulfill. You want to talk about satisfaction? If you are full and fill, you're about as satisfied as you're ever going to get. Not fleeting happiness.
Here comes the preaching voice.
Yeah, deep and lasting. Yeah, he recognizes it. Deep and lasting satisfaction. That's what you want. And that's only going to come from pacifying who you are and what your abilities are. You can't get that externally. It comes from maximizing yourself. If you know that you are exhausting yourself to become that better person, exhausting yourself to become the best at what you do, and you're serving a greater purpose in doing it, tell me how money is better than that. Mm-hmm. Tell me how the trophy wife is better than that. Tell me how the CEO of the corporation is somehow better than that. It can't be.
It's not.
It can't be, man. I don't buy that at all. So it's how inexpensive is that to do?
Here's my challenge then to everybody. What little thing, whatever it might be, I also don't want people to think because we're saying or I'm saying you can just do a little thing that you can't just go do a big thing, because you can. Right. But what thing can you do today, tomorrow, next week, tonight before you go to bed that will take you in that direction? Because if you listen to all of this, then as you said earlier, you're already on that track. So what my guy Z likes to say, win. What's important now? And that can be in a fist fight. What do I got to do right now? It can be in a gunfight. What do I got to do right now? It could be as you're on your knee, you're begging your wife forgiveness, or it could be in the boardroom trying to sell the $10 million deal. What do I got to do right now? And I think back to what we just talked about a minute ago, we get too broad viewed where we forget, while I'm driving the car, if I'm trying to type an email, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And then I rear end somebody. While I'm having this interview with you, I'm thinking about what I got to do this afternoon. We're not going to have a genuine discussion. So what do I got to do right now? It might just be smile, quit acting like a dick. It could just be that.
Right. Yeah. I think everything, I've always said everything needs to finish with an action step. And if you want to go balls out and go do something huge, man, go for it. If that's where you are, but I think everybody can do something simple, but it's important that you do, because I think you need to drive a stake in the ground. And I think you need to, it's good. It's good for your soul.
Tony Robbins says, draw a line in the sand. You say, drive a stake in the ground. Yours sounds masculine.
Yeah, mine's way more masculine. He's way taller, but I'm way more dude than he's in. I would never do something so lame as soaking an island in Fiji. The is that, bro? Own his own castle.
Imagine, I just had this whole little weird fantasy in my head of Tony taking his toe and making a line in the sand, and you all squatty with some big like sledgehammer pounding a steak.
Well, you know, I mean, it's funny because I will see, you know, I'll see the other, you know, people in this industry doing things, and they always lose me. Once you start showing me things that are the things that ultra rich people do, whether it's, you know, you're showing me your yacht or your what and all this other shit, to me it's like you lost me, bro.
So you don't see that as like them using an object lesson of what one can achieve. I went from washing my dishes in my motel sink to now I've got a jet plane and a yacht.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. Even the very framing of it that way would be like, to me, would be anathema. I'd say
it is very.
Why is that even important? What does that have to do with maximizing all that you are and all that you can do for a greater purpose?
So then you're chasing after the wrong things.
Yeah, because I mean, anybody who does anything for money has to cloak it to justify it, right? Fig leaves as aprons. Once they're exposed in the garden, they put on fig leaves as aprons. They have to cover themselves. You will always reach for justifications. You know, I'll see people who sell these expensive online courses, and they're multimillionaires by selling an expensive online. And they tell people, listen, you can make money while changing people's lives. You know, fine, that's good. That's a good thing. But when you really get through it, and I've talked to a lot of them personally, man, they're on a hamster wheel, bro. They're trying to keep this up.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep up that budget. They're trying to keep up that revenue, man. And that's a tough thing to be on. And to me,
because it's not real.
It's not real. And it's just, there's no greater purpose here. You know, some of the most greedy, underhanded people, if we were to be standing all in a restaurant or something, I would be the one picked out of the lineup as being suspect. But the guys with the dashing clothes and the fancy haircuts and tipped roots and tipped little hair tips and and, you know, all dressed nice, and the girls are all dressed nice and whatever. No, I'm the asshole because I've got the cuffs and the long hair and all that shit.
Sure.
Whereas no, these guys are engaging in highway robbery.
Yeah.
They're getting in there telling people, listen, well, no, this course, now I don't normally do this. I don't normally give a discount like this. Now this course I could, you know, it really does, it retails for $4,997. But and I'm only doing this today, and I'm only doing it today for the next 10 minutes, you know. So, and you do have to do things in marketing that, you know, to give people a time frame or they'll never do it. I understand all that. But this is online marketing. You know, I sell t-shirts. You have t-shirts. Like I sell t-shirts, right? I will always outsell myself ratio-wise in person than I'll ever do online.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to do any selling, because what most they'll tell you to do when you want to be a speaker, they'll say, well, you know, make sure that you sprinkle your talk with things that will lead to a sale. Or you sprinkle your webinar with things that will lead to what you're saying at the end. So for example, the one guy, Clients on Demand dude, who sells his programs at outrageous, like $5,000, $10,000 programs, they call high ticket stuff.
Ooh.
He will talk about in his webinars about how he had to run up credit cards and things, but he had to do what he had to do in order to get the courses at the time when he was just a bartender.
So he's getting the listener ready to.
Yeah, he's getting the listener ready to go get a bunch of credit cards to do whatever. So, but I can go out and not mention a damn thing about a table full of shirts or tape or audio series or something in the back. I don't have to say a word. I can say at the end, and then Lizzie will be over there going, remember you got your, oh, yeah, and by the way, there's a table back there with shirts and stuff. Support the cause. Because they know what they just heard was nothing. That was not manipulation. We were in the throne room for a little while tonight. You know what I mean? This was an experience. This was something to where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm buying into this culture. I'm buying into this way of approaching things. And if he's got a table full of crap back there, I don't know what he's got back there. I don't even know if I'll even need anything, but I'm going to get something.
Go get it. Yeah.
I'm going to go get it because I believe in what he's doing. That's what most people will tell me. In fact, I had to quit. I had to change my whole online advertising thing because the typical stuff that you would use to sell wasn't working for me. It didn't work at all. And people, they weren't buying because of the price break. They were buying because I want to give back. So I had to start telling them that. So I'll say, wear your attitude and support the mission. Because that's exactly what they want to do. They see the metal up thing and all this stuff. They're like, yeah, man, dude, that's me. And that's the other thing. That's another secret. I've got some of my shirts just over here, and one says eat, drink, and be metal. One says my blood type is metal. One says motivated by metal. The other one says metal up. Notice what it doesn't say. A damn thing about me. You know, the shirt and what I sell is a personal statement of the person who wears it. Mm-hmm. You're not wearing my anything. You're wearing you. Eat, drink, and be metal.
Did you take this off of my sales pitch for my T-shirt? Because that's
no, I didn't.
I said if you see somebody walking down the street with this, you know it's somebody that takes pride in their training. And so,
yeah, exactly the same thing. So you find what that motive is, you know, and that's what you get to people. So that's a simple, honest, legal exchange. Nobody needs to be manipulated. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Nobody needs to be anything. I don't want to twist as much as I can so I get the high ticket client. So, you know, like the Tim Ferriss thing, the 4-hour work week, mm-hmm. and have more time for yourself. More time for myself. 4 hours? I would go crazy.
I know.
I'm just going to do more shit, dude. I'm just going to do more stuff.
That's what I was going to say.
You know, while he drives, and these dudes get on there, and these chicks get on there, and they post a new, just check out my new Escalade, this and this,
He's tagging into people that feel overworked and they don't know how to maximize their time. And
yeah, I mean, dude, seriously, if I knew more than 5 different kinds of hardwood floor samples or marble, I would consider that a personal embarrassment. If I knew the differences between Mercedes products, I would consider that an embarrassment. Unless that was just something you're into, mm-hmm. you know what I mean? Just as a hobby or whatever. Like my friend Metal Mike loves Ferraris. He's got 2 vintage ones that he's working on. You know, he's serious into that shit. He didn't even post it. Now, you got to go into his house to see it. But these people who just got my new Escalade, the new this Range Rover shit or whatever, no, I don't even know. I don't know what that is, bro. I don't know the difference between them. I don't care. It's not important to me. The fact that it's important to you tells me all I need to know about you. Right. And your 4-hour work week horse shit. You're not somebody I can call on, man.
Right.
I can't go to war with you. The world is burning and you're so consumed about a Mercedes.
With nonsense.
Nonsense. It's absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's my soapbox, and that's not, you know.
It's legitimate,
whatever,
though.
Man.
That's memento mori. You know, you will die. That is the thing. I just had this discussion with my friend the other day that was lamenting some problems in his life. And I said, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to worm food anyway, brother. You're worm food. So you might as well. I mean, that's not me being I'm not being negative, but like, doesn't that to me, that was one of the most freeing things in my life when I fully grasped that. Like, I will die. There is a grave or a incinerator with my name and a date that my flesh will go into it at some predetermined point in history. Like, whatever I do from now till then is all I got. So
yeah, make it count, man. I mean,
you 4-hour work week or 100 hours.
Yeah, I just don't get it. And that's no slight to Tim Ferriss. He seems like a really great guy, and it's just a sales thing. I get it. Mm-hmm. But no, I mean, I want the example that's left to my kids and whatever. And we talk about it all the time. In fact, I would do a podcast with 2 of the kids called Keep It in the Family. And we talk about issues, and my daughter's on there with the history major, and my son's a filmmaker, and these are deep kids, man. And we talk about real stuff. They are not, they're contemporary millennials. They don't give a damn about that stuff. They're all about what they do. So they understand that in this house, it's all about calling as the most important thing you can do with your gifts, talents, and resources, in which you are the most difficult to replace. Calling.
I like it.
And a lot of people are in positions right now where they're replaceable, right? They're replaceable. So find that most irreplaceable thing that you can do and do that, be that, live that. And sometimes people won't pay you to do your calling. Sometimes you're doing something and you're just not going to be financed. Remember Paul going to the Gentiles? Mm-hmm. Finance him, he had to make tents. All 12 on staff in Jerusalem were fully financed, but he was going out to do something that nobody wanted, which is reaching foreigners, with this message. And so nobody would pay him to do it. It didn't compromise the calling, man. He just funded it himself by making tents wherever he went. And so be a tent maker if you have to be. If it's your calling and it's eating a hole on the inside of you, you fulfill it in whatever capacity you can, even if you have to underwrite the mission yourself until there's a market out there that will sustain it.
That's one of the fallacies of our modern world. Go chase your dreams and everything will work out.
Yeah.
Do the thing you love and then you'll never work a day in your life. Well, that's bullshit. Because what if you love to eat potato chips all day? Or what if you...
Yeah.
That's a great point. That is, in my business, there's a lot of people that are great. Even Pat works part-time as a firearms instructor. He's not out grinding it out every day. There's a lot of people that do what I do that could never support their family doing it. It doesn't mean they're not good at it. It's just, there's a finite marketplace. And
I'll tell people this way. I say, listen, do what you love. Yeah. Do what you love after 12 hours of doing what you hate.
Yeah, sometimes you got to.
You know what I mean? Do what you love after the 12 hours of doing something you hate, and on the weekends.
Yeah.
Because I
don't have to do so you can do what you want to do, isn't that?
Yeah. My old friend used to say, do what you hate to create something that you love. And it is, life is not complicated. I think life is so simple that gurus have to help us misunderstand it.
I agree with you. I think that we do. That's why I said that Beatles quote. I think it is. We tie ourselves down with all of these ideas of things that we got to check all these boxes. One of my sisters has a $250,000 college loans, and she went to school for kind of what we're doing for counseling and therapy. Mm-hmm. She's a lobster fisherman. She lives on an island and fishes for lobsters. So she went and borrowed $250,000. She got a great education. She makes enough money, luckily, to pay down the debt. But she followed what she was told she had to do in order to live a fulfilled life. Not that there's anything wrong with a great education or any of that, but we have these ideas. We gotta check all these stupid boxes.
Fishing for lobster.
Yeah, she was on she's a cool kid. She through college to help pay for it, she went on all of these different internships. She went to Moldova, spent a whole summer working in an orphanage. She went to El Salvador, I think, same thing, worked in an orphanage with autistic kids. Well, one of the internships was working in an organic garden on an island in northern Maine. So she's like, I'll check that out. It pays for some schooling. Fell in love with a boy, that old song and dance. Mm-hmm. And this boy is basically like his family's like 5 generations on this island. It's like way up by Bar Harbor, Maine. And up there, they're like everybody knows these people. Like the great-great-grandfather was the first dude to build a house. So
wow,
she makes great money, works half the year, and they just read books and sit in the snowed-in house and stoke the fireplace all winter, eating food that they can. But it's funny to me, though, because the plan she laid totally became meaningless, and she enjoys her life. She was just here for a visit, but we weigh ourselves down with these ideas of what we have to do.
Yeah. Good for her, though, man.
Yeah, she's done well. But you hear that stuff so much. I got a buddy one of the guys that is a sponsor of ours. You've seen the blades that I wrap, Colonel Blades. Mm-hmm. The owner's son, who's one of his trainers. This kid, he's not a kid, he's a man, but he's trained special operations units all over the country. Wow. Went to school and got a law degree. He's a plumber. He doesn't practice law. He decided he didn't like it. He's highly intelligent. He can articulate any thought quite eloquently, but his father owned a plumbing business, and he went and got a law degree, though, which is no small feat, and decided,
man. Wow.
That happens often.
Yeah, man. Wow.
I appreciate your time. How do people find you, CJ?
Well, the simple thing is the website metalmotivation.com, and on Facebook, it's facebook.com/metalmotivation. And on Instagram, where you and I hang out, it is at Metal Motivator. So
okay, that's why I erroneously called it that. That's what I thought.
Yeah, and I got a Twitter account, but whatever.
Yeah, I never was a Twitter guy.
Nah, Twitter, dude. I did Twitter since I started, like in 2007. Mm-hmm. It never worked well for me.
Yeah,
Facebook was my best, and I've been on Instagram for a long time, but I didn't really start focusing on it more till a couple years ago, I guess. And my attitude towards it completely changed when I met Pat and then Wes. Mm-hmm. Somebody like you, all of a sudden now my whole demographic changed. Next thing you know, I'm talking to guys like you who, it's not even, it's neither the metal nor the motivation necessarily. It's just, like minds are doing their different things. But when we all get together around the campfire, so to speak, all that stuff comes off, and it's just, we realize we're just the same sort of people, same age group, businesses, family, second.
Our energies found each other.
Yeah, exactly. And so that really changed my outlook on Instagram immensely.
When I started using it, if I go back a bunch of years and look, I did what I thought you were supposed to do on that platform. I've been self-employed 20 plus years, so I'm versed enough in marketing that I've been able to support myself for most of my adult life doing it. But that was a new platform for me. It'd be like a picture of a gun or something. Right. And I just thought, like, this is such a waste of time. Like, it's because people want to look at this. Like, I don't want another billboard that looks like everybody else's billboard. So I'm like, I'm going to do what I do, which is what you do on the channel or your platform there, rather. And it's the people that, like, I could just do shit of me rolling on the floor shooting shit and probably have more people want to engage, but those people are not buying anything I'm selling either physically or spiritually. So what's the point? Then I just save my ego with more followers that doesn't actually mean anything. So.
Yeah, I mean, the process, and I was talking to Mac about this the other day. We're going to go visit sometime and whiteboard his business, because Mac's one of those guys. You and I are really the same. In other words, we have to claw for everything we get.
Yeah.
Guys like Mac has to turn away followers. In other words, he'll minimize who he interacts with. It doesn't matter. He could not post for 3 months and he'll still have 20,000 more people following him, because it's just that, that Delta mythos and, all that. So he has this attractive quality to him. It's funny when you sit with him, he's not that guy. He doesn't believe that about himself. He deals with it, with whatever it is, but it's not like he sits around like with this massive ego or something like that. He's a very humble guy. But his not being that available is just his personality. It's those tier 1 guys, man. A lot of them are just kind of, that's how they got to where they are, because that's the way that they are. They're very private people. I tell Mac this a lot. I said, Mac, most of the guys in your ilk, man, when they're done with service, they disappear into the landscape. You don't know who they are. Other special operators tend to be more, out there and whatnot. But, his ilk is a little different. And so I said, we really need to work on you because you've already got this attractive quality to you and you're not without being or doing too much for it. You know what I mean? They're just coming at you. So what could we do with intentionality? How can we monetize some of this in a good sense? How could we, get this and get you spending less time on the plane, maybe, so, and he's open for that. But I think the key here is that if we cutting our way through in this social media age, for me, is all about embodying an idea. And whenever I teach on branding, because, 5 years ago, people couldn't spell branding. Now everybody's a branding expert. I've been doing this for 25 years as far as the branding part goes. So to me, branding is not, when your stationery matches the decals on your truck and it matches your website. That's not branding. Branding is not a promise. They say branding is not your story. Branding is not, that's not branding. It's not branding at all. Branding is not something you see. It's intangible. That's why, think of major brands. These are indelible, right? Indelible marks. Indelible means you can't erase it. For those that don't have a dictionary at hand, the indelible mark is the brand, right? You put the brand into the cow's ass, and
which is where the term comes from,
right? Indelible branding. So it is something in the marketplace. So when somebody says, when you got a family visiting your house and they bring their kids and the kid outside cuts his little hand or something, you don't come in and say, "Oh, hey, Mickey, do you guys have an adhesive bandage?" They're going to say,
I need a Band-Aid.
I need a Band-Aid, If you're going to say, make a copy of something, you say Xerox it. You'll say FedEx it. You'll say, you don't ask for it. Do you have a facial tissue?
Right. You want Kleenex.
You want a Kleenex. So
guys like Pat, they want a Tampax.
No, a Tampax. So the point is that when you're using brand names for categories, that's branding. Powerful branding. But more than anything, branding is an idea. It's when ideas take flesh, incarnation. When idea takes flesh. Well, like when people some of the things, in case your audience doesn't know, I have a lot of sayings and phrases that I use that my audience knows. It's on the shirts. I've got people who tattoo it on their skin. One of them is metal up. So for a lot of people, they can't separate the phrase or some of these statements from me. You know what I mean? It's just, it's one and the same to them. So the idea takes fleshly form, and that's what makes it memorable. So it's an intangible thing. So I'll tell people this way. I say, if you don't have a strong idea driving your business, then you're like a champion surfer who's trying to catch a wave on a freshwater lake. So if you go anywhere, it's only because you paddle very hard. And that's what a lot of people are doing on social media. It's paddling. So that's why they have to, constant videos or constant this, constant that. They're paddling because they have no way to differentiate themselves from everybody else. And so like the carry trainer, you're differentiated not just with the visuals, but in every way. So your videos stand out to me. I see everybody's stuff now because I got a whole lot more of this gun community that I'm seeing now that I'm interacting with it. So I'll see other videos and stuff. Some of the stuff is cool, whatever, but I can't tell the difference between the tight shirt, muscled dude with the backwards hat and the sunglasses from the other tight shirt dude with the muscles. Right. It all starts to look the same. So they've got to compete with each other. So it's who can do the craziest this or who can do the whatever. I mean, people are going to do whatever they can to kind of stand out. But if you understand that you could have an idea behind you that differentiates you, then that'll be more like riding a wave. And you'll know you have something that's more like riding a wave. You'll know it's the case because the idea will demand more from you than you're able to give it. You know, like my idea keeps telling me, dude, you should be 8 books in now. You should be these events. You should have the radio show. You should.
Sure.
The idea, you know, the idea keeps demanding more of me, but I'm like, I can't get to it right now. You know, I can't. So, but it's there demanding that. And so that's when I know I'm writing something that has a life of its own. And this is a beautiful time to be in, man. This is social media. This is the age of, when I teach this stuff, I'll tell people, listen, man, prior to Facebook, prior to social media, if you wanted to get something out, it was so hard to do.
Right.
And the ubiquitous internet.
Tons of money.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, the primary difference between social media and the internet age is going from searching to sharing. Because nobody was ever sat down at a computer and thought to themselves, got on Google and said, I wonder if there's a heavy metal version of motivation.
Yeah. They
just put in how to be more motivated. And if it's Tony Robbins that comes up, then that's what they go with. They don't care that he listens to the music or not. So in the age of the internet, without social media, metal motivation is dead in the water unless I want to spend a shit ton of money doing late night infomercials. Right? But in the age of social media, then the idea is viral. Metal motivation is not something you search for. It's something you share. You know, hey, check this dude out. And so that's how it grew. It grew by sharing. So, but if you understand those principles that are involved and how to differentiate yourself and how to really push it out there, it's great to have quality content. You know, it's great to have, you know, the good videos and the good pictures and whatever. But you've got to have that central idea that really differentiates you, that intangible thing that's pushing what you're doing. Otherwise, people still won't be able to tell the difference between the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. And so, you know, there's 100,000 motivational people online. There is one metal motivator. It's just one. But I got to do other things. It can't just be, again, somebody would have heard of metal motivation. They would have think it was a championship wrestler routine or something like that. No, I've got to keep adding to it. So people say, well, dude, you need to copyright and trademark your metal up phrase and all that stuff. No, I'm not going to do that, man. No, but somebody will steal it. They better be good. And if they're that good to come 10 years later, take it from me and outdo me with it, they deserve it.
Right.
Otherwise, I ain't going to sweat them, man. Because anytime anybody thinks metal up, they're thinking me. They're not going to think this guy.
Yeah, well, I see the logo. I know it's yours. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I don't have to do that. And then lastly, I would just give as a piece of advice for anybody who does do this sort of thing, like yourself. Just remember, the algorithms are always working against you, right? They want you on there. They want you spending money. They want you doing whatever. It's great, though. Don't hate Facebook for it. What we're able to do for pennies compared to what we had to do for thousands of dollars. Sure. I used to spend $25,000 a year just in local marketing in oh my God,
counties. You know? Yeah,
you know what that $25,000 would get you on social media?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So you thank your lucky stars for what you've got. But the algorithm does work against you, you know? So my best advice to anybody is you've got to be the human algorithm, which means if I don't post, Mickey, people will come looking for me. Dude, I check in every day, man. Where's your stuff? Where you been? You okay? Everything cool? You know, people will come looking for it because you've gone outside of the medium and you're into their head. You know, you're a part of their conversation in their own life. And all that people will say, and again, this is what the confusion, the message of the messenger thing. So don't get me wrong. I don't let this stuff inflate my ego at all. It's just, to me as a marketer, it's data, market data. But people often, they'll tell me all the time, they'll say, dude, I want a bracelet that says, what would CJ do? You know, this, I had a situation the other day, man, and I was thinking to myself, I was doing my typical reaction, and I thought, man, what would CJ say if he were here right now? Now, of course, I have to kid with him and say, well, I would probably say, let's go to lunch. You know what I mean? I might be saying the exact same thing, you know, like you post these profile pictures, people are like, oh, just your eyes. And I was just wondering, you know, what you're thinking about. I'm thinking about a sandwich, man. It's a picture, damn it. Quit being all, you know, whatever. It's not, it's illusion. All right. It's just all illusion. But what's not an illusion is the ideas and the values and the principles and all these things. So again, being a human algorithm and really reaching out and touching your audiences and building something solid, you can do it. And yes, authentic and all that other horse shit. But trust me, there are greater communications principles that could be enforced, and they have so much more to do than just quality. You know, the quality of your whatever, how beautiful your picture is and the filter you use on it or whatever. No, that stuff can, I've seen people with 400,000 followers, but there's no engagement.
Yeah, it's all a lot of that is not real in the sense that it's actually creating anything for that owner of that page. There's not any financial gain. There's no benefit to business because it's not real. No, the only guys that I would say, I mean, and this is not an endorsement of everything they say or do, because we can't say that about anybody. But I'd say, when you talk about the guys who do it for real, and you can watch it on display, the real power. It's like somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk, or even sometimes Grant Cardone. Grant's, yeah. You know, Grant's just kind of, here's my plane. But Gary, for example, you know, he's got the millions of followers, but I literally think he's pretty much responded to all few million of them. I mean, he literally, I don't know how he does it. This is the first time I've ever said this publicly. I've got on Instagram 60 some odd thousand followers, which is the point of saying it is for the following statement. For at least the first 50,000, every one of them got a message from me, which Instagram starts stopping that because they think that you're somehow like cheating the system, because most humans wouldn't spend an hour saying, hi, my name's Mickey. Thanks for, you know, and that's what I legitimately, some people say like, how did you get this automated program to do this? I didn't. This is Mickey. I hope you have a good day. Appreciate you checking my shit out. Let me know if you need anything. Or hit the call button in the bio if you've got a question. It'll link up to my office and ring my cell. No way. Yeah, like that's why I'm doing this. Right. It's not for numbers on some ticker.
Right.
That doesn't mean anything.
No.
I agree with you. Excuse me. That at some point you can't do that, but it's part of it is that the platforms literally stop you.
Yeah. Anything that you can do to interact and whatever is always a positive thing. And I know it's hard sometimes, especially when you do get the larger numbers.
Sure.
But you know, I would just encourage people to just, you know, don't just follow what somebody does. Realize that there's principles here and you can apply them, man. And anybody can do anything now. It's really, really an amazing time.
On that note, I've got to go trim a tree before it gets dark.
Is it dark? Yeah, we've been here a while.
We have 10 minutes to 3, 10 minutes to 4 your time.
You got 3 podcasts.
We'll chop this up into at least 2, maybe 3. I appreciate your time. It means a lot. We'll do it again at some point, I'm sure. You call me if you need me. Everybody you heard, and I'm going to have them tell you one more time how to find CJ. Go ahead. metalmotivation.com. And then from there, you can get to all the respective social media channels. Metal Motivator on Instagram. So if you're following us there, you'll find him there. It's good stuff. Right, sir, it was a good time. We'll talk again soon, you guys. Go follow him, check him out. Let me know if you've got any questions. If there's something that we talked on today that you guys think that we could expound upon or dig in deeper to that perhaps we glassed over, let us know. Maybe we'll sit down and we'll chit chat again next time over beers, though.
Yeah, right on.
Visit our website, carrytrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., Carry Trainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@carrytrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@carrytrainer.com or carrytrainer.com.